Morning, traders. Chris here, Second Skies Trading. So welcome to the pre-market watch list for the U.S. stock market. Had some big moves yesterday, and we had some big movers pre-market that ended up fading a lot, but then we had a lot of other things that moved later in the session. And so as we do every Tuesday, we're going to be going over the pre-market watch list for stocks, what we're going to be looking at day trading and swing trading for the day, and what are some of our movers. We're going to be going over some trades I'm in. We're going to be analyzing the market. So we're going to go through our pre-market watch list. Let's start with ES. I'm going to share some trades. I was very active in DKNG yesterday, also active in Nikola, which is a big mover. But let's get into it. So everything is looking very strong. Asia was strong across the board. Only the Nikkei was slightly under. Europe, everything positive and decent strength. And so ES futures already up 29 points, very, very strong. Slowly build a good base, double bottom, classic double bottom. And now it's trying to kind of complete that pattern by tagging this and then breaking past that. And that would show that we have a short-term base in place right now. So very strong for U.S. equities to start. Clearly, we do have floor at 3,300 and short-term resistance at 3,422. So that's going to be kind of the main thing intraday. Hey, what are you doing? Get out of there. So that's what we got going on for ES right now. Another one you want to be keeping an eye on, QQQ. Had an interesting session yesterday. Started off decent and then just sold off a lot to kind of an interesting support. And it's rallying a little bit today. It's not as strong. It's interesting. Tech is not as strong as S&P, but it's holding its own. So kind of similar chart. We have kind of that double bottom there, and we found some decent support at 266. So now the key is 281. And if it breaks that, then the double bottom has kind of completed itself. And now we have a base in place. So that's clear where bulls are drawing the line in the sand for now. It's only 12 points off the highs, but needs to clear the 282, which is key. So morning, Sasha. Oh, you are in here. Okay. Thank you for that. And then go take the rest of the day off. Yanni, good to see you as well. So, all right, let's do our pre-market list for TradingView. And then we'll take a look at not a whole lot, actually. Not a whole lot of pre-market movers. So let's switch over to Benzynga. And so Benzynga, let's see here. Okay, wow. Nothing within a volume mover. That's very interesting. I'm very kind of surprised on that. So our minimum volume requirements usually for kind of really even looking at something is usually 600,000 shares pre-market. And the highest one right now is 493, which is very, very interesting. So that's pretty low. We do have a couple movers in ANPC, which is up, but very low volume, and it's up 16%, but very low volume. Same with FCAU. So I want to switch over to some stocks that I was trading pretty aggressively today. I think you're going to want to be watching Tesla. Tesla looked very good yesterday. Had a very nice RRL setup yesterday that we traded. So let's take a look at Tesla. We're going to look at DKNG. I want to take a look at Nikola as well, which has had a very, very interesting last couple of days with some of the revelations that have come out on them. So Tesla, very good setup on Tesla. I'll show you this one here. Very, very straightforward setup. So we had the break above. We had this 400. We had this nice pullback level. So this was resistance here. This is a pre-market high, and then kind of corrective structure. Good buying on the open after a 5-minute dip, just really solid buying on the open. So you got an impulsive corrective structure with really strong volume. And this was the session high and very straightforward RRL. So we bought this dip and took a play up to here. We almost took the second dip, but we were kind of done for the day at that point. Kind of wish I did, though. Even just a small position would have been very nice. So RL, very nice RL, almost $400, $398. So this is a very good play. And then gains the rest of the session, and then pretty decent buying in pre-market. So if we look out and zoom out a little bit on Tesla, where do we see any sort of support? So let's go to, so weekly VWAP is still way behind. It's at 403. If we were to get 403 or 398, I think this would be a fantastic buy level. I don't know if we'll get there today. In terms of resistance, I'm thinking some of the main resistance it's going to have to clear is this kind of level right here, which was resistance here, and support on this big sell-off before the breakthrough. So I think 469 is a decent upside target. There's a possibility for a pullback maybe to 426, which kind of lines up with resistance, resistance, support, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, a little bit of a bounce from there. So I might be interested in taking a trade off of 426, 427. That's decent. But the next major upside for this is going to be 450 and for it being a round number, and then 469. So Tesla's just rallied pretty strongly off the lows, off the 300 or 308 lows, and now 438. So it's now only $100 off the highs, so only 20%, about 20%, about 18% off the highs. So no longer in correction territory. 10% is generally considered correction, no longer in bear market territory. So it's kind of phased out that with 2 strong rallying days. The other one, might as well switch over to Nikola, which is very, very interesting because so Nikola, as you all know, it's kind of like attempting to become a competitor for Tesla, but they're so far behind, and there's definitely a major difference between their CEO, Trevor Milton, and Elon Musk. And so the big thing out was a couple days ago, they signed a partnership with GM, $2 billion deal, but then somebody came out, the Hindenburg Research Group had come out with a report suggesting that the video showing the Nikola 1 model with the truck actually wasn't powered by its own powertrain, but was actually just rolling down a hill. And then they just showed it as it was moving at good speeds. And so that report came out and the stock got hammered. It was not very happy about that. And so that was, here's the deal. And then a day and a half later, report comes out, bam. So the stock goes from 53 down to 27, cut in half, 50% drop in half. And so then, the CEO came out, but the thing about it is that his responses weren't very comforting. And eventually midday yesterday, they actually admitted that, yes, that truck wasn't being powered by its own powertrain. They also said it was a third-party video, even though it's got their name and brand all over it. Very weird response. So it seems like there's kind of some sort of, how could you say, I wouldn't say conspiracy or anything like that. It just seems like there's a lot of information coming out that showing that Nikola hasn't been exactly above board. This is just my opinion. So this is just alleged stuff. And so I don't want Nikola to come out and sue us. But yeah, it's starting to feel like there's certain things that aren't above board, and the responses really didn't help. They did have a response, but then more information came back out about it. So we took an option play yesterday on Nikola, and so let's see here. Let me go back to the technicals real quick. What am I main concerned about? So let's go to like weekly real quick. Okay, you do have support at 29. But you're seeing that the bounces and the rallies are weak, so this is just explosive right here. I have no idea why I was at $93 a share a couple months ago. It just seems ridiculous. It's sold off aggressively. It hasn't been able to maintain any of the gains. Bounced a little bit, hit support. That was the announcement with the deal, but then it has since faded some of that. So it feels like it's kind of rolling over, and 29 being a key support. So going to the 4-hour, this was the GM deal, and then this is the selling off since then. So basically what I did is I sold a 35-30 put spread. That's a bear put spread. So it's a debit spread. It's not a credit spread. But then I funded it by selling a 45 call. So we sold the 45 call, and we used that proceeds to basically fund the put bear spread, or the bear put spread. So it was about break even. We had to pay maybe 65. We had to pay 65 cents to get into that trade, 65 cents per option contract. So basically with the 35-30, we want Nikola to close below 35. It's option 16 expiry. And we funded it with the 45. So as long as it's below 35 by option 16 expiry, then we're in good shape. We make money on it. So that's the main one on Nikola. The selling since then, the additional report came out that, hey, okay, yeah, technically it wasn't under our own powertrain and things like that. That wasn't very inspiring. And there's really no follow-up institutional buying right now. So with that being said, I'm probably expecting this to test 30 and 29 support this session, unless some strong buying comes in. There was some decent buying, but yeah, the volume, I just, the follow-up selling, I think nickel is in trouble. And if it breaks the 29 support and the 27 lows, then Robinhood traders beware, because I think there's a fair amount of Robinhood traders that are still long Nikola. MHB, good morning to you. Kevin Deschamps, morning to you. Yanni saying Sava and VXRT. What about them? You know the rules, Yanni. You know the rules. DKNG, this is something that you have to have on your watch list before we move on to any others right now. So why is DKNG so big? First off, on Friday, I had added on to my position about 40.80. As you know, I'm a long-term bull on DKNG, and I like the dip into 40. If we go to the 1 hour chart or the 4 hour chart, it'll kind of make sense. So 40.80 right here, you can see kind of why this is such an important level. So the market was going like this, and I bought into the dip. Resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. And I felt like this overall structure, has balanced itself out. It's kind of found a good base of support at 30.70, and it's just continuing to produce higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, higher lows, slightly higher lows, and then building higher lows here. So I bought this dip at about 40.80. And then yesterday, ESPN, and you can see exactly when the announcement came out, ESPN announced a deal. It's kind of like a duo. They announced a deal with both DraftKings and Caesars online sportsbook, that those two are going to provide exclusive sportsbook content to their viewership. And so as soon as that came out, DraftKings just went gangbusters, absolutely gangbusters. In 10 minutes, it went from 40.79 to 46. So what is that? It's like 15% in 10 minutes. It's a huge jump. And so on the news, I was actually doing something else, and then all of a sudden I just happened to look over my DKNG position, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, what just happened? And so got into news, and yeah, big announcement deal with them, which is huge. So, for ESPN, which is the major sports provider in the US, to announce that kind of deal, that's game changing. That's absolutely game changing. That's, it's just DraftKings is in such a good position right now. They, last week signed Michael Jordan to their board. He bought in an equity stake to do that. That kind of helped give it some more wind in its sails. And then this has just been insane. So ended up closing at 48, and it's just been kind of doing a corrective structure pre-market. But basically, as soon as I saw this, I waited for a little bit of stabilization. I bought on breakout. I added a little more. So I've added to my position 3 times yesterday. So built up now. I mean, I already had a decent position, but now I got a really good size position in DraftKings. So I am going to expect a little bit of a pullback. Some of this euphoria enthusiasm, I think, is going to have a pullback. I'm not sure if that's going to happen today. There's no signs that it is right now. There's nothing crazy about it that's suggesting, that it is or is not. I'm curious what pre-market volume is. And overview, let's see. Why does this not have pre-market volume? That's very interesting. It's not on the list, so I'll have to look at it. But anyways, so DKNG, very, very strong today. If I wanted to get a pullback in DKNG, if you're someone who missed this, then I think your first rally, and I put this post on my YouTube community channel, so check in there. I often do posts, potential trade setups or charts that I like. I did this after the market yesterday. I think this is probably a decent pullback level, 44. And I think if you want to dip a little more into this, I think mid 42s isn't bad. And then I really like, obviously, buying at my entry point. Again, it may unwind some of that. It may unwind all of that. That's totally fine if it does, because I'm long-term bullish. I'm going to hold exposure to DKNG through the rest of the year, probably next year, assuming, more and more sports continue to come online. But through this big burst out, we made all-time highs. So I think your first pullback level you want to watch is 44, mid 44s here. So yeah. Yanni, you're saying they have good pre-market volume. I'm not seeing that. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. This is the pre-market volume. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I mean, what's their pre-market volume coming up with you? I'm not seeing it. Chi Chan, good morning to you. So yeah, very straightforward impulsive corrective. Another potential area you can look is the weekly VWAP here, so 46.18. If you kind of see a weak pullback here and then you see a good volume surge off of it, that might be a good one. Otherwise, I think the next level you want to watch is 44.49. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm watching on DKNG. How are we doing on time before the market opens? Okay, we got a little bit of time. And TV more than 1 million. You sure that's pre-market? Let's see here. Let's see here. Are they doing pre-market volume in here? Let's go back to stock screener. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Maybe they got pre-market, but are they even moving? I'm not sure they're even moving. Because otherwise, why aren't they coming up on the screener? Yeah, that's why they're not moving. That's why they're not coming up on my scanners. Okay, they got volume, but they're not going anywhere. So, and they're down pre-market. So I'm not sure what's so special about this. There's a decent structure here. But yeah, I was watching Sava yesterday and it faded a lot of, it just faded yesterday. So, and now it's in the middle of this big burst up pre-market. So I don't really see anything there. And VXRT. Yeah, I'm curious why you picked those. There's nothing, I don't see anything special about them. Or at least Sava, I'm not seeing anything special about it. Maybe the volume's there, but the price action isn't there. So I'm not sure what you're seeing about this one. This one's a little bit better. The structure is a little bit better on this one here. Let me do weekly real quick. So pre-market, VXRT tends to fade a lot. It's going to need to get above 840 to open up some top side. If it gets above 840, then I think possibly room to 10 and 12. But I do like this structure a little bit better on the 5 minute and the 1 hour. 4 hours decent. Let's extend this line up a little bit. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. Okay, now it makes a little more sense. So decent on the 1 hour, you know, nice impulsive move, corrective structure. I'd need to see this break on good volume and time and sales. I need to be good. I got an alarm if it gets up there. Also, I would like it to stay within this corrective structure. Yeah, I'd like to stay within this corrective structure when the market opens. Hold this base at 722, which may be a decent day trade play up to 832. It'll probably get stuck a little bit, but looking, I'd want to see, you know, some pressure build, and I'd like to see good volume and time and sales on that. Other than that, is that. Morning Chi Chan. RLC saying your top down and down to top approach. What is down to top approach? Marie? Forgive me, I think there's a language barrier here, our rule. The way I approach pre-market stock list for trading stocks is we always start with a stock screener on TradingView. There's only one coming up right now, but it's on low volume. We talk about that. Our main requirements are that we want a stock to have a minimum 600,000 shares pre-market volume, but that's just the minimum requirements. And so we usually go over to Benzynga for that. And Benzynga kind of will tell us here on the volume, which is above 600,000 shares. Right now, there's only Noke. So Noke is the only one that is above 600,000 shares. But then it's not just based on that. It's also how is it in relationship to average volume. So we want something that has strong pre-market volume as well. I usually want something that's up 10% plus, at least 10%. The more, the better. So we want good volume. We want minimum 10% gains on that. Minimum 600,000 shares. Ideally, in relationship to overall volume or average volume, we usually want it to be anywhere between a third and a half of average volume to be happening pre-market, because that tells us that there's a lot of institutional interest in this stock before the market even opens. And so they're probably positioning themselves for a big move in that particular stock. And then from there, we do, if you were following along, maybe you missed it, we always start with the weekly, and then we go to, why is that 0? That's weird. That's a weird candle. Hey, TradingView, you need to fix this. I don't know why that's very weird. So we go to the weekly. Let's see if this one is, no, this one's fine. Okay, so it's just Tesla. So we go to the weekly to make sure that we're not running into any major resistance or support levels or anything like that. And as long as everything's clear, then we start looking at the intraday timeframes, basically. So the 1 hour and the 5 minute. And so for bullish bias, obviously we want pretty good price action pre-market. And then we'll start looking at it and look for trade setups from there, looking at short-term support and resistance levels and so forth. So that is our approach. You can see us do this every single Tuesday. Every single Tuesday, we do this live. And so if you want to get more and more familiar with it, then go ahead and watch the other Tuesday videos, and you'll just see the patterns over and over again. You'll see what price action structures we're looking for, what kind of volume structures we're looking for, what kind of setups we're looking for as a whole. Okay, so let's hear MHP. What is your view on Coca-Cola? So MHP, if this is your first time here, welcome. The way we do that is that if you want me to examine a stock or anything like that, then you give me the symbol, the time frame you want to analyze it, and a 1-sentence description, you're bullish or bearish and why. If you're in a trade, you give the trade details as well. So that's how that works out. So if you want an analysis on Coca-Cola, feel free to put in all that information. Brightest is saying Forex or stock market, which one is most profitable? I believe there's more opportunities in stocks than Forex. So Forex, you're welcome, Arul. For Forex, how many currency pairs do you have? You have about 160 currency pairs. Most brokers only carry between, say, 40 and 60. Some of the bigger brokers will carry 100 pairs. You think about that. There's only 100 pairs, and you're not going to be able to trade all 100 pairs. And how many FX pairs are moving 3, 5, 10% on the day? Very few. Whereas in the US stock market, you have 30,000 stocks. You have scanners that can scan through the stocks super fast in terms of movers, which one's moving, which one's not, based on volume. You can scan based on volume. You can't do that in FX because volume is not centralized. So I have 30,000 stocks that I can scan through on any given day. I myself am watching hundreds and hundreds of stocks. These are all just the indices alone that I'm watching. This is just the North American stocks that I'm watching, which is probably as many currency pairs as you're watching. But then I have ETFs. Then I have ESG, which is energy, sustainable and green tech. Then I have commodities, which is probably as many currency pairs as you're watching. I have bonds. I have banks. Banks haven't been too hot lately, so I'm not really doing a whole lot of that. There's Asian stocks. There's pharma and biotech. So as a whole, there's just by the fact that there's more stocks available, in my opinion, creates more opportunities. And then on top of it, you throw in the fact that stocks just move more. Stocks just move more. So, Nikola is in the last few days has gone from 57 to 26, 27, or sorry, 54 to 27, 50% drop. Which currency pair is dropping 50% in a few days? So, there's just more volatility in stocks. And so because of that, because you have access to flow data through volume and VWAP, you have access to time and sales, you have access to level 2. I think stocks is more profitable. That doesn't mean that I don't trade FX. I still trade FX. I still swing trade FX. But I just think there's more opportunities overall in the stock market than that. So yes, hopefully I answered your question. Okay, so MHB, do you have the information on KO or no? If you don't have it, then we can always wrap it up a little early. It's 6:27. Market's going to open in 3 minutes, so I'll give you 30 seconds to bust that out. And if we don't have it, then we'll just wrap it up. So our watch list for today, though, DKNG, NKLA, Tesla. I have no idea why Tesla is showing a zero price. That's so weird. And then you could throw on a little bit of VXRT, not totally there yet, but has anything come up in the volume? Yeah, nothing crazy. SRNE, it's a print, it's always in there, but yeah, nothing crazy on it. So SRNE and SBSW. And again, I mean, if you look at this is just pre-market. This is, more movement than you'll see in the FX market as a whole. Okay, MHB did finally make it through. Coca-Cola, I am buying the H4 time frame, so that's KO if I remember. 4 hour. I think one of my members talked about this recently. Yeah, it's building. This is a good structure. It's overall, it's a building structure. It's not a gangbusters mover. I mean, think about it. Since April, there are many tech stocks that have been, making new all-time highs, and Coca-Cola is stuck between 44 and 51, mostly between 50 and 44. So $6 range for April, May, June, July, August, and finally building out. So short term, yeah, it's just not exactly a huge mover. This would be more of like a medium term, long term type stock if you wanted to hold it. They do have a good dividend, so would also lend credence to the medium term. You could sell a lot of covered calls on this. This would be a really good stock for selling covered calls. Short term, 49.84, I think is a good pullback level. I think it's building pressure to break out to the upside. So yeah, I like the price action on this here. I like the structure. I think there's a decent pullback level around 50, 49.89 to 50. I think it's a good pullback level to add positions, but it looks like it wants to break out to the upside. So it's going to need to clear, obviously 51.66 in this spike over here to add some fresh bullish technicals, because obviously there's some sellers here, and they're going to have some stops here. But overall, it's building. So I like it. It's a good structure. Slow mover, but a good structure. So if you're okay with slow movers, then I think it's a good play. Okay, that's pretty much it. Market's going to open in 1 minute. So I hope to see you guys next Tuesday for the pre-market watch list. I might do something this Friday, haven't decided if we'll do something like that. Other than that, I hope to see you and our members in the stock trading course channel right now, where we're sharing our live trade setups and everything like that in real time. So I hope to be trading with you there. And so I'll see my members very shortly. Good luck trading, everybody, this week. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.